haven't done one of my super long, windy intros in a while, so we're going to do one of those right now. So prior to the game, I was talking with MLB.com's Jordan Bastian, has covered the Chicago Cubs for a number of years now, and is a prolific runner. I'm talking about putting up 50, 55, 60 miles per week. I'm just in awe of the quantity of miles he's able to run despite being a father and having responsibilities outside of covering baseball. And the majority of our conversation centers around running, and he was giving me the business because we were supposed to run today and I was making excuses, yada yada yada. I'm in the East Bay, I don't want to come to the city at 5:30 in the morning to run 10 miles, yada yada yada. But before the game, super innocuous. I was just like, because I have tomorrow off and I was going to use that as an opportunity to do one of my longer runs. And I told him, however many runs the Giants and Cubs combine to score, that will be my mileage for Thursday, and I'll just incorporate that into my daily mileage intake. And I picked one hell of a day to make that statement, as the Giants beat the Chicago Cubs 12-3 here on Wednesday night at Oracle Park. It is their fourth consecutive win. They've now taken back-to-back series. The previous one, they take 2 of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers. They are now on the cusp of their first sweep since June, and I'm gonna have to run 15 miles tomorrow. So that is the big takeaway. That's the biggest thing that you should take away from a game like today. And if you were watching today's game, or if you were even just scrolling on social media following along, there was no shortage of highlights that the Giants had on a night like tonight. Rafael Devers had 2 homers, his 26th and his 27th on the season. Matt Chapman homered, a solo shot for his 200th of his career. Elliot Ramos hit a solo homer off Reese McGuire, a position player. There was a nifty double play in the top of the fifth inning, that Carson Whisenhunt was able to induce. That gave him 5 innings, ultimately gave him the win. But the one play from this game that you're probably going to remember and you're probably going to see kind of meme-ified, so to say, is a ball literally deflecting off Matt Chapman's helmet and resulting in a run scoring. And to kind of set the stage for this play, we're in the bottom of the 5th, 2 outs. Rafael Devers is on first, Dominic Smith at the plate. Dominic Smith shoots a single to center field, and Devers rounds second, pulls up into third, and kind of takes his foot off the gas before making it to the base. And as he does that, Pete Crow Armstrong comes in to third base, and if Cubs third baseman Matt Shaw is able to secure that ball and tag Devers was going to be out. Devers didn't even slide. Kind of maybe shocked him a little bit how quickly that ball kind of got up on him. But Shaw isn't able to corral the ball. That sets up runners on first and third with 2 outs. That brings Matt Chapman to the plate, who muscles a bloop single into shallow right field, lands right in front of right fielder Kyle Tucker. Devers scores easily. Smith goes from first to third, and Smith had intended on stopping at third. Third base coach Matt Williams puts up the stop sign. Obviously, no reason to even try going home because Turner, the ball's right there. Turner throws the ball in, and he throws it right off of Matt Chapman's helmet. Now, Matt Chapman is looking towards home plate. The throw's coming in, kind of in that direction. It kind of bounces off the top of his helmet, and it really, it doesn't even just, kind of bounce and then just fall to the side. It ricochets off his helmet, and it shoots behind the backstop. And Smith sees all this unfold and then makes a break from third to home. He's able to score. Chapman advances from first to second, and he's kind of laughing. He's smiling at his dugout. And it was just one of those lucky breaks that, again, as we've talked about the Giants over the course of these last couple of weeks, these are the types of breaks that they just really haven't had, and it was one of those plays that essentially paves the way, again, evidenced by the fact that this was a 12-3 victory for one of the Giants' bigger wins by margin of victory of the year. Their 4 homers were also the most they've hit in a single game this year. Moving a little backwards to the top of the 5th inning, before this eventually became a blowout game, 4-3 going into the top of the 5th inning, and the Cubs were able to load the bases against Carson Whisenhunt with 1 out. Now, in the top of the 1st inning, Whisenhunt was able to get out of one of these situations by inducing an inning-ending double play. But in the top of the 2nd inning, Whisenhunt allowed a 3-run homer to Nico Horner that made it, at the time, a 3-1 game. So, again, 4-3, top of the 5th inning, Whisenhunt kind of on the ropes. If Justin Turner gets a base hit, that probably ends Whisenhunt's night. But what happens instead is that Whisenhunt's able to induce an inning-ending double play off the bat of Turner. Turner hits a grounder. It deflects off Whisenhunt's glove, kind of shoots towards center field. It's obviously not going to make it all the way to center field, but it ends up being kind of an in-between hop for Willy Adames, one of that kind of lands just a few feet in front of him and it's just going to deflect up or shoot up. Adames is able to glove it, flips it to Casey Schmidt for one, and then Casey Schmidt with the Justin Turner, not exactly the fastest guy in the world. Schmidt throws it on over the first. Inning-ending double play. Whisenhunt is able to complete 5 innings, ends up being in line for his second win, and ends up getting his second win. And then following the 3 runs that the Giants score in the bottom of the 5th, again, kind of bouncing around here. At the conclusion of 5 innings, the Giants were leading 7-3, and then from there, they just continue to pile on. Rafael Devers hits a 3-run shot in the bottom of the 6th inning. That makes it a 10-3 game. Chapman solo shot in the bottom of the 7th. That makes it an 11-3 game. And then with Reese McGuire pitching, again, a position player, that makes it a 12-3 game. Ramos' 16th homer of the year. Going back to Devers again, we're just kind of going back and forth here a little bit. This is probably, not even probably, this was definitely the best game that Devers has had offensively in a Giants uniform. He goes 4 for 4 with the 2 homers, a double, and a single, draws a walk as well. His 5 RBIs are the most that he's totaled in a single game with the Giants. His 11 total bases are also the most he's totaled in a single game as a Giant. Also an interesting stat is that he became the 3rd Giant in the StatCast era, that being since 2015, to record 3 hits with an exit velocity of at least 106 miles per hour. I will give you the next 5 seconds to guess who the other 2 are. 4, 3, 2, 1. If you guessed Jock Peterson and Michael Conforto, you would be exactly correct. And these are the types of games that, going forward, and not just in the scope of this season, but looking out towards the remainder that the Giants have Devers on contract, quite frankly, these are the types of games that the Giants are going to need out of Devers. Maybe not this type of quality, you know, it's not every day that you have 11 total bases, but just generally games where Devers looks the part of a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, just generally looks the part of one of the best left-handed hitters in all of Major League Baseball. And we've talked about some of the inconsistency that Devers has had this season. We've talked about the back issue. We've talked about the groin issue. Going into play today, Devers only had roughly 746 OPS going into play, or 742. I think currently it sits at 796, so still below that 800 mark, whereas, you know, prior to the trade, at the time of the trade, Devers had an OPS north of 900, has a career OPS in the mid to high 800s. And this is a Rafael Devers that we haven't consistently seen out of a Giants uniform. Again, we've kind of seen it bits and pieces. We saw it in Atlanta when he had the 2 homers. Not just the 2 homers, but the way that in which he did it. There was that pitch that he golfed over. That was like at his shoe tops. We've seen it with some of the opposite field home runs that he's hit at this ballpark. And we see it on a night like tonight where it's not exactly... And we see it on a night like tonight where it's, you know, for San Francisco standard, it's relatively warm, but it's not exactly a warm summer night. It's not exactly a humid summer night. It's not exactly the type of environment that's going to be conducive with the ball traveling. But Devers, again, continues to prove that he's able to homer in pretty much any ballpark that he's in. He hits a solo homer in the bottom of the 1st to dead center. Kind of knew it off the bat, despite the fact that it didn't exactly clear the wall by a ton of feet. And then, again, as I mentioned, in the bottom of the 6th inning, hits a 3-run opposite field homer. I want to say that's his 12th as a Giant, and again, his 27th of the season. So now the Giants are in a position to do something very rare over the course of these last couple weeks, which is to get a sweep. Their last sweep, if I'm remembering correctly, was in early June. I think it was of the Atlanta Braves back when they were at home.